What's up, guys? You don't know me. This is my debut YouTube video. No cuts, no edits, because I think this world lacks authenticity. So you'll see every single mistake I make in this video. Please enjoy. You're probably like, who the fuck are you? You don't need to know. But I have a fun little YouTube video for you guys. It's called The Art of Individuality versus the Trap of Self-Exploration. It is from my notes app. It's something I've been curating over the last couple of months, and I was like, I'm no scholar or anything, but I thought it might just be interesting. Again, I'm not a scholar. Take everything I say with a grain of salt. If you don't agree with anything I say, that's okay. That's cool. We can talk about it in the comments. I'm very open to new points of views and just like whatever you're thinking about. I guess, yeah, just like let me know. I'll be happy to talk about it. But this is what I've been kind of cooking up for the last 3 months, and I might cry. I don't know why. Whenever I start talking about things that are very emotionally in depth, or like they're the things that I very much believe in, I get very emotional. So I'm also on like 10 milligrams of melatonin right now, but that's why I thought this would be a good idea to record and post this on YouTube. This is not a video essay. None of what I'm about to say is backed up by quotes, or quotes or academic papers. But again, I just thought I should read my notes out for once and put it somewhere. So, the world is my oyster, and the world is your oyster too. So let's kind of break it down. I'm going to be basically reading this side because this is where all of my entire notes app is. So this is the art of individuality versus the trap of self-exploration. So, in a world that constantly asks for labels and definitions, it's easy to lose sight of who you are outside of those frameworks. Our generation, Gen Z, shout out, especially finds itself caught between these desire for self-exploration and the overwhelming pressure of external expectations. And this tug of war isn't just about wanting to understand ourselves better, but it's about navigating a landscape where self-discovery feels commodified or boxed in or constantly scrutinized. And I'm gonna expand on this because you're probably like, that's like a common thought. Yeah, but we're gonna vocalize it, right? So this is like the paradox of self-exploration and external expectations. So take the pressure of labeling yourself. For instance, labels she, he, they, it, them, her, hers, or other labels like introvert, extrovert, queer, artist. They can provide a sense of clarity or solidarity. You're like, yes, I am that person. They help us communicate or identify ourselves outside of that world. But when we begin to over-identify with these labels, it can feel like chains, narrowing the sense of who we really are. So this is especially true in a culture obsessed with labels: dating, gender, career, personal philosophy. Are you in a situationship? Are you guys in a relationship? What are your pronouns? Yeah, let's all raise our hands and say your name and your pronouns and where you're from. X, Y, and Z. Like, we're obsessed with it. And there's an endless demand for people to fit into a pre-made box. And the moment you don't, it feels like you're missing something. For example, take the pressure of trying to define a relationship. The pressure to define a relationship is almost immediate. Are you dating? Are you in a relationship? In a situationship? Why does this question carry so much weight? In fact, often when people ask it, they're not just looking for clarification, but they're looking for a validation of what the relationship is supposed to be. So the constant need for a definition creates an invisible cage, making people afraid to experience the connection itself. Like, just you don't have to label it. You can take it for face value. You're like, I enjoy this person's company. Do I know if I'm gonna date them? I don't know, because you know what, at the end of the day, nobody knows. If you do know, like, good for you. Like, you're very good for you, girl or boy, they, them. Like, good for you guys, good for the people. But true, like, okay, yeah, so like making people afraid to just experience the connection without forcing it into a category. So true self-exploration doesn't happen when you're constantly forced to validate yourself with others, but when you let go of the need for their approval and simply be. I feel like as a generation, even me, I'm so guilty of this. I can't shake it. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, what does this person think of me? Like, oh my gosh, they know I'm in a situationship, or like they know that I'm in a relationship, they know I'm single or whatever, like, oh my gosh, X, Y, and Z. But things get trickier because, our generation just gets trickier. I watched a YouTube video the other day that said that we shouldn't be able to see these many, like, as many people as we have in a lifetime. Like, I'm not supposed to see like a million faces in my lifetime ever, and yet I have, which is weird, right? So, anyways, we're gonna get into the idea of the isolation of overconnection. So, we're told that we need to be connected to people, to causes, to movements, to trends, social media, whether it's algorithmic, why did I type that? Algorithmic precision, whatever, gives us the illusion of constant connectivity, making us feel like we're a part of something bigger than ourselves. And yet, this serves to deepen our sense of isolation. We're surrounded by people, but not necessarily by meaningful connection. You see relationships where one person is constantly mirroring the other, losing themselves in each other's in the other person's identity to avoid confronting their own. So I'm going to read that one more time because it's a little weird to say. Okay, so you see relationship. Okay, like this is just an example. Like I see two people, right? So we see two people, they're in a relationship. One person is constantly mirroring the other person, losing themselves in the other person's identity to avoid confronting their own. And I feel like I see that a lot, especially with bisexual women or men, albeit, or people that have labels that they are exploring. They tend to change those labels for their partner. They're like, oh, maybe I'm not she they, like maybe I'm just she her because I'm dating like a man, like just like a I don't know. I see people change that very often, which is, that's their own self exploration, and I'm taking it as face value. That is what it is. But I feel like, especially in this generation, everybody feels the need to like clock it immediately, and it's like, maybe we just let them kind of live. Maybe they're still exploring themselves, and I feel like that just gets really tricky. I don't know. Whatever. That was a weird tangent. Anyways, my next question for you guys: when was the last time you felt completely seen for who you are without needing to adjust yourself to fit someone else's narrative? I'm gonna read that again. When was the last time you felt completely seen for who you are without needing to adjust yourself to fit someone else's narrative? Whew. So in relationships, this creates a cycle where people are unable to sit with themselves, move from one connection. They're unable to sit with themselves. They move from one connection to the next, seeking validation but never achieving peace. When these relationships end, the self-discovery they were avoiding suddenly becomes unavoidable, which is why many people latch on to the next thing to distract themselves from it. Think about it. How often do you see someone be in a breakup only to jump to a new relationship, like without skipping a beat? This rush to find someone else to define them is a symptom of not having time or space to learn who they are when they're alone. It's like the fear of being alone is more terrifying than the discomfort of confronting your own thoughts. Damn, I was kind of a scholar while writing that. Anyways, it's like the fear of being alone is more terrifying than the discomfort of confronting your own thoughts. Wow. Authenticity versus the perfect self. True authenticity in today's world feels like a nearly impossible pursuit. We, yeah, you and me, like when I say we, like we, all right? We've been conditioned to perform an ideal version of ourselves, not just for social media or in our relationships, but in real life too. People feel the need to curate their best self, often exaggerating traits or wearing masks in order to be accepted. This is a direct result of the world demanding a constant display of perfection, or at least a polished version of this reality. The perfect self becomes a facade that people wear to gain approval, right? So even when they know deep down it's not real. Authenticity then isn't just about being yourself, it's about unmasking all the ways you've been conditioned to conform. And this idea like in this idea and this performance takes a toll. So when we the more we try to craft an identity that fits the expectation of the world around us, the further we stray away from who we actually are. There's a tension between wanting to be real and knowing that to be real in today's world often means going against the tide. How many times do we censor ourselves, whether it's consciously or unconsciously, because we're worried about how we're perceived? I do that a lot, which is why I wrote this. How many of us change our opinions, adjust our behavior, or adopt new trends just to feel like we belong? Do you need the Dyson Airwrap? Do you need Samba's Onitsuka Tiger? Onitsuka, that brand? Do you need the Stussy 8-ball jacket to fit in? You know, like what do you need, right? It's just like a weird nuance, I guess. That doesn't make sense. I don't know. I I'm gonna I'm gonna pause right here, guys. Like, I have ADHD. Um, I've got something, right? I got something undiagnosed about me. Well, it is diagnosed, whatever. But I often have to write all my thoughts whenever I get them, and then they go away immediately. And I've got like 3 different tabs open right now, so just bear with me. I'm gonna get into my last section here, and then we can open the floor for discussion. Whew. The hardness of self-exploration in a distracted age. So then there's the noise, as I was saying. There's just a lot happening up here. I mentioned how people dread the day when they forget their headphones. So I think that's a good metaphor. Why did I write it like that? I mentioned, okay, whatever. At some point, my little self mentioned, or I guess came up with the idea that when people forget their headphones and they're actively going into public spaces, they literally, like, the worst day on earth has happened. So we are so inundated, how do you say that word? With distractions, notifications, entertainment, and interactions that we don't know how to be with our own thoughts anymore. And I brought this up because I saw a TikTok about this, which is like, why, whatever. But it was like this girl, and she was like, it was like one of the TikToks where it's just the picture. I don't know. It was like basically like whatever. But it was, all the comments were like, yeah, I can't go without music or listening to something for more than like 8 hours. Yeah, I listen to music to go to sleep, and I wake up and start the day with music and blah blah blah. It's this constant need to have a consistent hum of the digital world, and it makes it so hard to hear our inner voice. It's like the only way to feel alive is through external stimulation, but that leaves us feeling disconnected from the most important source of wisdom, which is ourselves. And I have an example written down. Think about the times where you sit in a room and everybody's on their phone. Are they truly with each other, or are they just physically present, mentally disconnected? How often do we avoid feeling things by filling our heads with external noise? Instead of allowing ourselves the space to process emotions, we distract ourselves until the feelings are dulled and we become more disconnected from our truth selves. Breaking free from the cycle. What does it look like to break free from the cycle of self-exploration and performative authenticity? It starts with slowing down. And slowing down, at least to me, means watching that 45-minute long YouTube video instead of a 45-minute doom scroll of 3-second clips. That's what slowing down is for me. We have to break the cycle. We have to slow down. It's about choosing moments of discomfort over immediate escape. Am I uncomfortable during those 45 minutes because I can't continuously stimulate myself with external noise? Absolutely. Are you watching this and you're probably like, damn, I could have gotten like 15 TikToks in? Probably. But you're still here somehow. I don't hope my thoughts are interesting. they're I don't know. I feel like all my thoughts are just like definitely thoughts people have had, but they're just all written, typed. They're all just typed up, and I'm speaking them out loud. But I don't know. Maybe this is insightful for someone. Um. Anyways, my last sentence. There's a freedom in embracing the ambiguity of being human, in recognizing that identity is fluid, and that self exploration is a lifelong journey, not a destination. So, in conclusion, the tension we feel between individuality, labels, and the need for connection isn't something we'll solve overnight. But by shifting from constant external validation into internal reflection, we can start carving out space to be authentically ourselves without the pressure of fitting neatly into somebody else's mold. Yeah, so I hope you guys found that insightful. That was my notes app. I've just been adding to this notes app for like 2 months. Um, they're all just kind of observations and whatnot, and I guess we'll open this to discussion. Any questions? Yeah, that's a great point, guys. Like, I don't. Anyway, what? Okay, whatever. Um, sorry, my nose is like really runny. I got a Baja Freeze in my left hand, Snoopy in the right. Anyways, I hope you guys explore yourselves more. Go create art. Go be somebody. Go be something. You already are somebody and you already are something, but you know what I mean. Yeah, you know what I mean. Anyways, have a good night, good day, good evening, and thanks for listening. All right. See you in the next one.